Yo, what's going on, guys? Sin here, and today I'm going to be bringing you a review for Boondocks Season 4, Episode 2, entitled Good Times. Now, I was gonna do a review for the first episode, but yeah, I didn't really have time to do it, and besides, I just felt as though, I could just wait and I'll do a review for the second one. I'm not gonna probably do a review for every episode, but we'll see how this goes. Uh, like once we get to the halfway mark of the season, since I think it's like 20 episodes, so once we get to the 10 episode mark, I'll probably give you my thoughts so far on the entire season, well, up until that point. But today I want to talk about this episode mainly because it sort of felt better than it was definitely better than last week's episode, because in last week's episode I barely laughed. And when sometimes you watch a comedy and the joke isn't funny, or it could just be a tad bit funny, and you're like, I gotta force myself to laugh because I just want to have fun with this show. And it sort of felt, it was a lot of moments like that, because I rewatched the Flizzy episode about 3 or 4 times, so I sort of laughed a little bit, but not as much as I would normally would. I mean, this is Boondocks, and I should be laughing. I should be crying laughing. But I didn't get to that point in last week's episode. I think one of the problems with last week's episodes, I was talking a lot about this to Red Edge X and even to my brother and a few people, but I think one of the problems was that, without the main cast, it went like they really just put the cast in the background of last week's episode, and that's why I guess it wasn't as funny. It was that, and it seems like the writing, the things that they have Riley and Huey say from last week's episode, I'm like, I mean, it doesn't really have a sting to it. It wasn't as funny. And I don't know, it just feels so, even the actions that they were doing at the dinner table and everything, even the interactions, although Riley and Granddad's, when they was talking to Tom and everything, and talking about how Flizzy was gonna do his wife, yeah, that was clear cut into their character. So they're still thankfully handling the characters somewhat well. But yeah, in last week's episode, it wasn't too good. But moving on to this week's episode, Good Times, I gotta say that it seems like my fears are somewhat coming to fruition. Because I was talking about this to Red Edge X again. I was asking him the other day what he was thinking about, if he thought that the season was going to end up turning into Family Guy because of all these, because when we saw the trailer, I know some of you guys were thinking, oh, they're doing a parody of this, they're doing a parody of that, and Boondocks, it has done sort of this whole parody thing in the past, with the 24 episode, I think it was one of the last episodes. But see, the problem with that was a few of those episodes like that, they're not the strongest material. They really weren't. And even the episode that I'm referring back to now, it was kind of stupid. I mean, in my opinion, I think that was one of the worst episodes. It really was. But in this episode, and I'm not going to try to give away too much, I'm really just going to give you my overall thoughts on, the takings and everything that really happened, all the proceedings of the episode. But there were a few things that sort of fell flat. Now I know they were trying to do this whole Good Times gag the entire episode, in which I thought it was random at first. So I was like, yeah, I see how some people could have found it funny the first time they've done it, but this sort of feels like a Family Guy gag. Again, it just feels out of place. And at the same time, it would have been alright if it was executed a lot better than what it was. Because I don't think it was executed well. Because it would happen at these abrupt times where something would happen to the Freeman, for example, Robert ends up getting these these credit cards from all these different people, from Gangsta Delicious to Lil Wayne, and that sort of remind me of like the cashback cards that we're seeing nowadays, and we had these celebrities endorsing it and everything, which I thought that was kind of cool, that they sort of like harkening back to, again, the show reflecting what has happened over the past few years. But I guess the Good Times thing was sort of, like I said, I felt like it was executed poorly. And I don't know, I honestly can't tell you what they could have done better with that, with this running gag the entire time. But, yeah, it's just my opinion. Maybe it was funny for some of you guys, I was texting my friend during the show. He said it was good. He said he liked it. And then we actually see Ed excuse me. I was about to get tongue tied. We actually see Ed Wuncler's son. Well, Ed Wuncler's father, excuse me, in the episode, and he's literally like nothing like his son. And so I got this text during the show, and Red Edge was like, where the heck does Ed get his psychotic rage from? Because it really, like, I guess you can kind of see why they're so crazy, even at the end of the episode, or even during the episode, because when he comes in, he's got blood all over him and everything. So yeah, you can kind of see that, yeah, the apple don't fall too far from the tree, or in some respects, I guess. And I guess one of the funniest parts of this episode really had to been with Uncle Ruckus. He is literally the character that will make almost any episode at least a tad bit funny. And I think the funniest scenes in this episode was really dealing with him. It was really that, like, it really had him in it. Most of the scenes that I actually found funny. And I hope that, because I kind of find it funny how the Freeman family is pretty much sold themselves into slavery at this point, which I like. As soon as they did that, that's when I started cracking up, because that seems like a sort of a Boondocks thing. But I mean, I don't know what they can do, because it seems like at one point in the show, it's because I'm pretty much expecting them to sort of ride on the coattails of established material, and I think there's a problem. Now with this episode, I guess they were trying to do something. That will be memorable, because that's the whole thing. Almost every Boondocks episodes, from the good episodes, especially the first 2 seasons, they are so memorable, and when you can go back and watch them and chuckle no matter how many times you've seen them. And like this Good Times episode, especially with the Good Times running gags, it's not gonna really be as funny the next time you see it. And that's the problem. I don't think these episodes are gonna be as memorable, or at least this episode probably won't be for a lot of people. And like there's this one point where like the Freemans have basically they're living in the garage because they pretty much are renting out rooms to other people to try to pay off their debt. And this guy comes in, because Robert wants to use the bathroom. He's like, you want to start a nigga moment? And I'm like, it felt like that line. It's something about them trying to ride on the things that have already been established. It felt so, I don't know, it felt kind of, I don't want to really use the term like forced, but at the same time, it just feels sort of, like you could have, that scene could have been executed a lot differently to where it isn't so transparent, if you get what I mean. And I really think that what they should have done with this season, and maybe they did, but I think what they should have done, even if you're going to take Aaron's name out of it, just ask this guy for some tips or something. Like, Like, I'll give you an example from a video game point of view. Like Arkham Origins, when they were doing Arkham Origins, when WB was doing Arkham Origins, they went to Rocksteady for help. They asked for Rocksteady's input, and that's what they should have done with this season. And I hope that we'll see an improvement on the later episodes, because yeah, if they would have asked for Aaron's sort of input, I think these episodes will be a lot funnier if they did. But for something like this episode could have been executed a lot better than it did. It was kind of funny, like I said, near the end, and it's a lot better than last week's episode, though. I will say that. However, like after watching last week's episode a couple of times, I felt as though, because again, this has been brought up so many times, but the whole thing where Riley and Huey, they're turning off the lights because they see Tom. It felt as though Riley should have been the one turning the television off, and it seems like Huey would have been the one kicking the freaking light switches off like a ninja. I mean, it sort of felt like the two were out of place in that scene. But you know, we'll see how this season goes. You can actually, I think you can start downloading episodes now, because I actually saw a commercial during the season 4 episode last night. So we'll see how this season goes, though. I gotta say, if I had to give this episode a score, I'd probably give it like a 6.5 or a 7. No, I'll give it a solid 7. And I won't even say what I would give last week's episode, because I don't think it was up to snuff in the slightest. I mean, it's a Tom-centric episode for last week's episode, so I mean, I usually like the Tom-centric episodes, but the thing is that you put the main cast as a supporting cast, and they really didn't do well in the background. I mean, that's all I'm saying. It's that they could have executed these episodes so far a lot better than they did. But let me know what you guys think about the episode Good Times from last night. Like, subscribe to the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.